Floyd Mayweather maintains that his next fight will be his last fight and then he's going to retire for good. And if that is the case, if he's actually being truthful and doesn't intend to come back after that, because we know Mayweather's retired before and he came back. And obviously boxing is littered with former champions who tried to come back many, many times. People like Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, etc., etc. Very few of them walk away from the sport and never come back. There are some, obviously, like Rocky Marciano, Lennox Lewis, Joe Calzaghe. Those are guys who did walk away and just left it alone. But the majority of these great champions tend to try and come back. Their ego gets the better of them. Their lust and their need to enhance their legacy even further gets the better of them, and they just keep coming back, from retirement. But assuming Floyd don't do that and that he sticks to his retirement promise or whatever, who would you like his last fight to be against and why? Or do you even care if Floyd, who Floyd fights in his last fight? Are you just someone that's hoping to see the end of the Mayweather era and onto a new era, maybe a more exciting era? Now, most people who are talking about his final fight, from what I've seen, the most popular choice seems to be Amir Khan. Some people are saying Thurman, but the majority of people are saying Amir Khan. I don't think Amir Khan beats Floyd Mayweather. Yes, Khan is quick, but I don't think Khan is as quick as he used to be. I think as he's moved up in weight, which is natural for most fighters, he's lost quite a bit of his speed. And I wonder if he's going to be as effective against Mayweather's style now that he's slowed down. So I'm unsure about Khan, and even though Mayweather's not a devastating puncher, I still believe he's got the power to hurt Khan. If he's landing them straight rights, I don't think Khan's chin is going to react that well. That's just my opinion. And people talk about Khan is tall and this, that, and the other. I can just tell by looking at Khan, his arm length, I'm not talking about his reach, I'm talking about his arm length. The length of his arms, he can't compete with Floyd in terms of arm length. And Khan does a fairly good job at using what reach he has, but he's still not as good at maximizing his reach as Floyd. And maybe I'll do a separate video if people want me to do a separate video about it, where I'll take guys like Floyd, Adonis Stevenson, Vladimir Klitschko, and I'll take pictures and I'll show you what I'm talking about. When they're in the ring, look at their body position, look at the way they get themselves side on and really maximize and extend those arms. And that's a technique that you have to work on for years to be able to do that. And, marry that technique with coordination and timing and what have you. So Khan is quite good at using his arms, long arms, but his arms, from what I can see, are not as long as Floyd's. And I think Floyd will still control the action from the center of the ring. And once Khan feels a few right hands, I think he'll get a bit shy. Don't get it twisted. I think it's a fairly interesting fight, but I think there are far more, in my opinion, interesting fights than the Khan fight. I think even the Thurman fight might be a little bit more interesting than Khan, but I don't know, it's a different kind of fight for Floyd. But it's like I've mentioned in previous videos, if it was up to me, Floyd's final fight would be against probably Demetrius Andrade. That's who I would like Floyd's final fight to be against. Again, that's not going to happen. It's just me saying whatever, not taking into consideration Floyd's earnings, how much he'd earn from the fight, not taking into consideration his well-being, but just from a pure fan perspective, as a boxing fan, I want to see the most competitive and the most challenging fights. Floyd hasn't had a Sugar Ray Leonard around in his era. He hasn't had a Marvin Hagler or Roberto Duran. He hasn't had anyone on that type of level to be able to compete with. So for me, I think against a Demetrius Andrade, a guy who is similar to Floyd in style, but he's a southpaw and he's much bigger than Floyd. He's 6'1". That would be a massive challenge, and it would be a thing where Floyd has to come out of his comfort zone to actually win that fight and show us as boxing fans elements of his game, which we've never seen before. We've never seen Floyd get stuck on the end of a jab by a guy who has much longer arms than him and who's also slick. We've never seen that. But against Demetrius Andrade, that's exactly what we would see. We'd see a guy who's 6'1", who's got a longer reach than Floyd, who can punch. I'd be intrigued to see what happens there. Some people are also talking about Golovkin. Apparently Teddy Atlas came out and said Floyd, if he wants to do what Ray Leonard did, he should fight Golovkin. You know, Ray Leonard did fight Hagler, who is obviously arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest middleweight champion of all time. And he did it when Hagler was a champion, undisputed champion. But Ray Leonard was a lot bigger than Floyd Mayweather, naturally. Ray Leonard didn't start off boxing down at super featherweight like Floyd did. So even though I don't think, in my opinion, at the moment anyway, Golovkin is not the champion that Marvin Hagler was in terms of his greatness. As yet, I still think it would be unfair to expect Floyd to go up and fight Golovkin because, as I say, the natural size differential between Floyd and Golovkin is a lot bigger than it was between Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. So, and that's what boxing comes down to. Some people are going to dispute the idea that Andrade could beat Mayweather, because I'd actually pick Andrade to win that fight. Well, for example, do you think that Floyd Mayweather could beat Vladimir Klitschko? No. All right. Pretty much everyone is going to say no. They're going to say that's ridiculous. Of course he can't beat Vladimir Klitschko. Why not? Is it because Klitschko's got better skills? No. It's because at some stage, it don't matter how skilled you are, at some stage, the fighter you're facing is just simply too big. And you're unable to fight the way you're accustomed to fighting because you can't reach the guy. The guy's arms are way too long. You just can't hit him. So what point is that for Floyd? At what stage does the fighters just get too big and too long and too strong for him? Is it a middleweight? Is it super middleweight? Is it light heavyweight? Is it heavyweight? What size do the fighters have to be whereby they don't have to be as skilled as Floyd, but they can beat him because they've got enough skill and size to nullify all his ability? In my opinion, Demetrius Andrade is the guy. I think that's the limit for Mayweather. I don't think you'll be able to beat him. I don't think you'll be able to fight in the way that he normally fights. And I think he just gets stuck on the end of a southpaw right jab and left hands down the pipe. And I don't think Floyd will get close to Andrade. Just too big, too long. 6'1", long arm. I can't see it. I think that'll be the closest thing to fighting a Tommy Hearns, even though Andrade is maybe slicker than Tommy Hearns and obviously a southpaw. He's got the long levers that Hearns has. He's got the same type of ability to make Floyd come to him rather than the other way around. Andrade wouldn't have to worry about trying to find Floyd, So in a selfish world where I get to be the master of the boxing universe, I would match up Floyd against Andrade for his last fight to see a real challenge, to see if Floyd can deal with that, to see if he can prove me wrong, because I grew up in an era watching people like Roy Jones Jr. go up to heavyweight and take on John Ruiz. Roy Jones Jr. fought at light middleweight early on in his career, and there he is up at heavyweight fighting a 6'2" John Ruiz, who was 50 pounds heavier than Roy Jones Jr. was naturally. I'm used to that kind of thing. Those kind of ridiculous fighters putting themselves in ridiculous positions like that to have a great challenge and amaze the fans. So that's the kind of thing I like. But yeah, if you disagree, if you agree, whatever the case may be, it's all good. Drop your comments below. Who would you like to see Floyd Mayweather fight in his final fight, and explain why? Do you give Khan more of a chance against Floyd than I do? And do you give Keith Thurman a better chance? Also, Arislandi Lara as well. Some people, I was talking to a friend of mine on Facebook, and he was saying, why should Lara get to fight Floyd? He's still got Canelo problems. Well, as I said, I responded to this on Facebook to him. I said, well, Marcus McDonough had Kotelnik problems. He had Amir Khan problems. He had Devon Alexander problems. But yet he still got a shot of Floyd Mayweather. So you can't use that excuse. You can't just bring up, oh, he's got this problems or that problems as an excuse. You can't do that, because Floyd has fought plenty of guys who had unavenged losses. So that is what it is. Stylistically, I think Lara is another guy who is a very, very difficult matchup for Floyd Mayweather. Technical guys who can compete with Floyd technically. They don't have to be as good as him, because no one who is the same size as Floyd is as good as him technically. So you're going to have to get guys who are slightly bigger than him, who are not quite as good as him technically, but they're at least in the same ballpark. So their extra size married with their slightly lower skill level can overcome Floyd's significant talents. That's what you're going to have to look for, because you're not going to find a welterweight out there at the moment anyway who can compete with Floyd skill-wise. So you're going to have to go a little bit bigger and find some skillful guys, some technical guys, longer arms than Floyd, and see how Floyd can cut down the ring and deal with them. Anyway, let me stop rambling. This was only supposed to be a 5-minute video. Drop your comments below, people. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.